Have you noticed, the more you defend yourself, the more guilty you look? In a world obsessed with noise, your silence can be your most powerful weapon. In this video, I'll show you 7 moments in life when saying nothing gives you more power than any words ever could, inspired by Stoic wisdom. Let's begin. 1. When someone lies about you, let silence be your shield. Few things sting more than hearing that someone has lied about you behind your back. It's an injustice that pierces deep. The instinct is immediate. Defend yourself. Correct the narrative. Prove them wrong. You want to shout your truth from the rooftops. Clear your name, and make sure everyone knows who's truly at fault. But what if I told you that doing so could make everything worse? That in your quest to protect your name, you might be giving their lie more power than it ever had on its own? Here's the hard truth. Reacting emotionally to lies often backfires. The more you explain, the more it looks like you have something to hide. The more energy you put into denying the falsehood, the more people start to wonder if maybe, just maybe, there's some truth to it. It's an unfair game, one where the rules are rigged against you from the start. People who lie about you don't care about facts. They're not interested in justice. What they crave is control. They want to manipulate your emotions, draw you into chaos, and make you react, because once you react, they've succeeded. They've taken you out of your center. And that's where you lose your power. In these moments, the most powerful weapon you have is not your voice, it's your silence. Let's turn to the wisdom of the Stoics. Marcus Aurelius, the great Roman emperor and philosopher, once said, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." You see, your integrity isn't defined by what others say about you. It's defined by how you choose to respond. You can't control the words they speak, but you can control the dignity with which you carry yourself. When someone lies about you, silence is not weakness, it's restraint, it's strength under pressure, it's the decision to not dignify their lies with your energy. You may think that saying nothing means surrender, but in truth, it's an act of supreme self-control. Because silence creates space, and in that space, truth is revealed. Let me share a story that illustrates this. There was a man, we'll call him James, who worked for a large company. One day, a rumor began to circulate that James had mishandled a major project. It wasn't true, but whispers started spreading in the break room. Glances were exchanged in meetings, and some colleagues began to keep their distance. James was furious. His first instinct was to send out emails, call meetings, explain himself to everyone. But instead, he chose a different route. He chose silence. He continued to show up on time. He stayed professional, focused, and consistent. He didn't confront anyone. He didn't try to convince others of his innocence. He simply let his work speak for itself. Weeks passed, and eventually, the truth surfaced. The rumor had been started by someone with a history of undermining others, someone whose own performance was under question. When the dust settled, it was clear to everyone that James had done nothing wrong. And because he never stooped to defending himself with drama or desperation, his reputation remained intact, even stronger than before. This is what happens when you let karma do the heavy lifting. Lies are loud, but truth is patient, and while lies may travel fast, they burn out just as quickly. Truth, on the other hand, is eternal. It doesn't need a defense. It needs space to rise. So how should you handle it when someone lies about you? First, take a step back. Don't react in the heat of the moment. Take a breath. Remember, your reaction is exactly what they want. Don't give them the satisfaction. Second, anchor yourself in your integrity. Ask yourself, do I know who I am? If the answer is yes, and it always should be, then that's all that matters. The opinions of those who believe the lie without question are not people whose judgment you should fear. The truth always finds its way to the surface, with or without your help. Third, trust the long game. Karma is not instant, but it is inevitable. People who lie and manipulate eventually reveal their own patterns. You don't need to go chasing after them. Let time and their own behavior expose them for who they truly are. And above all, don't let their lie become your identity. You are not the rumor. You are not their version of the story. You are the quiet force that rises above it. In life, there will always be people who distort the truth, who try to tear you down to lift themselves up. But remember, your silence is not emptiness, it's presence. It's poise. It's a statement that says, I know my truth, and I don't need your validation. When someone lies about you, let your silence speak louder than your defense. Let your dignity shine brighter than their deceit. Because in the end, truth is not proven by argument, it's revealed by character. And if you remain grounded, calm, and composed, you'll find that those who matter, those who truly see you, will see through the lies. And those who don't, they were never worth convincing in the first place. 2. When someone betrays your trust, let your silence speak louder than their excuses. Trust. It's one of the most sacred things we can offer another person. It's not given freely. It's built, moment by moment, through vulnerability, loyalty, and time. That's why betrayal hits so hard, because it doesn't just hurt you. It shatters something deep inside. It's not just the act. It's the breaking of something you believed was real. Whether it's a close friend turning against you, a partner choosing someone else, or someone you once believed in throwing you under the bus, betrayal cuts deep. And when it happens, your first instinct might be to confront them. You want answers. You want them to understand how much they've hurt you. Maybe you even want them to apologize, to show some remorse. But here's the truth you need to hear. People who betray you have already convinced themselves that what they did was justified. They've built a story in their mind that makes them the victim or the hero, never the villain. And no matter how honest or emotional your words may be, they will find a way to twist them. You'll say, "You hurt me." They'll say, "You're too sensitive." You'll say, "How could you do this?" They'll say, "You pushed me to it." Every attempt at clarity becomes a new excuse. Every ounce of vulnerability becomes a weapon used against you. That's why silence, not confrontation, is the most powerful response. This is where Stoic wisdom offers clarity. Seneca once wrote, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." In other words, betrayal, while painful, is a form of fire, and fire can either burn you or forge you. What makes the difference is how you respond. And when someone shows you who they truly are through betrayal, the response that protects your power, your peace, and your self-respect is to walk away, not with anger, but with quiet finality. Let me tell you a story. There was a woman I knew, let's call her Sarah. For over a decade, she had a best friend. They shared secrets, dreams, heartbreaks, even celebrated milestones together. This was the kind of friendship that felt more like family. But one day, Sarah discovered that her friend had been speaking behind her back, sharing her private conversations with others, subtly undermining her in social circles, and even sabotaging professional opportunities out of jealousy. At first, Sarah was devastated. Her trust had been ripped apart. The betrayal didn't just hurt, it shattered her. And like most of us would, she wanted to confront her friend. She wanted to scream, to demand an explanation, to make her see what she had done. But instead, Sarah did something unexpected. She said nothing. She didn't argue. She didn't retaliate. She didn't even give a warning. She simply stepped back, completely, quietly, and without drama. Her silence was deafening, and it spoke volumes. Her friend, who was expecting a fight, a flood of texts, a dramatic falling out, got none of it. What she got was absence. And in that absence, she had no more control, no more excuses, no more spotlight. That's the kind of power silence holds. When someone betrays your trust, you owe them nothing, not an explanation, not closure, not your pain laid out on a silver platter. You are not responsible for teaching them a lesson. Life and karma will take care of that in due time. Your responsibility is only to yourself, to protect your energy, to rebuild your boundaries, and to remember that not everyone deserves access to the deepest parts of you. So, how do you handle betrayal in a way that aligns with your strength and self-respect? First, accept that the person you trusted is not who you thought they were. This is often the most painful part, the grieving of an illusion. But once you release the version of them you created in your mind, the reality becomes easier to face. Second, resist the urge to explain. People who betray you already know what they've done. And if they haven't apologized sincerely on their own, they're unlikely to understand after being confronted. Don't waste your words on those who've already shown they don't value them. Third, walk away with dignity. Not every ending needs closure. Sometimes silence is closure, and it's often more powerful than any long speech or emotional breakdown. Real strength lies not in holding on, but in letting go, especially when the other person expects you to fight for what's already broken. And here's the most important part: betrayal is not a reflection of your worth. It's a reflection of theirs. What someone chooses to do behind your back says everything about them, and nothing about you. Your role is not to carry their shame, but to protect your peace. In the aftermath of betrayal, you may be left with questions, pain, even doubt. That's normal, but don't let those emotions drag you into their chaos. Use that pain as fuel to grow stronger, wiser, and more discerning. Let the lesson shape your standards, not your heart. Build better boundaries, not walls. And never apologize for outgrowing people who were comfortable betraying you. At the end of the day, walking away without words can be the most poetic justice. Because while they were expecting fireworks, what they got was silence. And in that silence, they are forced to confront what they lost. So the next time someone betrays your trust, remember, you don't need revenge. You don't need to prove your pain. You just need to rise, quietly, powerfully, and with your dignity intact. 3. When someone insults you, master the power of composure. At some point in life, we all face insults, direct, subtle, or hidden behind fake smiles. It could be a sarcastic jab in a meeting, a passive-aggressive comment at a dinner table, or a hurtful remark thrown carelessly online. No matter the form, the intention is the same: to provoke you, to throw you off balance, to pull you into a reaction. And that's the trap. Because when someone insults you, their greatest desire is not to win an argument, it's to win control over your emotions. They want to see you flinch, defend, or lash out. That moment of emotional reaction is the prize they seek. And the moment you give it to them, you hand over your power. But what if you didn't react? What if, instead of firing back with words or anger, you responded with silence, with stillness, with dignity? That's where your real strength lies. The Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius once said, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy. It's a powerful reminder that the greatest form of control is self-control." When someone tries to insult you, they want to bring you down to their level. But when you stay calm and refuse to be pulled into their emotional storm, you rise above it all. Let me paint a picture for you. A man I know, let's call him David, had just been promoted at his job. It was a moment of pride and achievement, but not everyone was happy for him. During a team meeting, a coworker, clearly envious, threw out a sharp remark in front of the entire group. "Wow, looks like they're giving promotions to just anyone these days." The room went quiet. All eyes turned to David. Everyone waited for his response. Would he snap back? Would he defend his worth? Would he shame the insulter? But David didn't flinch. He simply looked at the coworker, smiled gently, and said nothing. No tension, no anger, just composed silence. And in that moment, the energy shifted. The coworker looked uncomfortable. What was meant to be an embarrassing moment for David turned into a mirror reflecting the insecurity and bitterness of the insulter. David didn't just win the moment, he won the respect of the entire room. Because silence, when used with intention, is more powerful than any argument. Here's the truth you need to embrace. Insults reveal more about the person delivering them than about the person receiving them. When someone feels the need to tear others down with words, it's often because they're drowning in their own insecurities, fears, or resentment. Their attacks are a projection, not a reflection of you. And when you respond with calm indifference, it dismantles their entire tactic. There is no satisfaction for them, no power to be gained, no chaos to feed off. You strip their words of impact simply by refusing to carry their energy. This isn't about being passive or weak. On the contrary, it's about having the emotional discipline to not be ruled by every opinion thrown your way. It's about knowing who you are so deeply that no insult can shake that foundation. So how do you build that strength? First, understand the game. When someone insults you, pause before reacting. Ask yourself, what are they trying to achieve? 9 times out of 10, the answer will be control, attention, or validation. Don't give it to them. Second, protect your inner peace. Not everything deserves your energy. Not every insult deserves a reply. Silence is not a lack of response. It is a deliberate statement. Your words are beneath me. Third, practice the art of graceful detachment. Imagine insults as arrows flying through the air. If you don't catch them, they fall to the ground, harmless. But if you grab one and hold onto it, you wound yourself. Choose not to pick them up. Let them fall. Now, that doesn't mean you let people walk all over you. There's a difference between calm and cowardice. There's a difference between stillness and silence rooted in fear. This kind of silence is a power move. It says, I'm not reacting because I refuse to let you define my emotional state. Let me share another insight. Social media, workplaces, even families, all can become arenas for subtle insults. And in these spaces, people often test your reactions. They want to see if they can shake you. But when you remain unshaken, they lose interest. They move on. You win by not playing. And in the grander scheme of things, who are you really living for? The ones who insult you? Or the quiet dignity of knowing that your energy belongs to things, and people, that actually matter? Insults may sting for a moment, but your response echoes far longer. It shapes your identity. It reflects your mastery over self. So next time someone tries to pull you into their drama with a cruel word or a bitter tone, do this. Pause. Breathe. Look them in the eye, or don't. And walk away with a quiet confidence they'll never understand. Because in the end, the loudest response to an insult is no response at all. 5. When others don't appreciate you, let your absence speak the truth. There comes a time in every relationship, whether romantic, professional, or even within family and friendships, when you begin to feel invisible. You give, you support, you show up, but the more you do, the less they seem to notice. Your kindness becomes expected. Your effort becomes background noise. And worst of all, your presence becomes taken for granted. And in that moment, a silent realization begins to grow. They don't value you. The first instinct for many is to fight harder, to do more, to explain more, to prove your worth. You start overcompensating, hoping that if you just give a little more of yourself, they'll finally wake up and see your value. But here's the painful truth. The more you chase validation, the further it runs from you. The more you try to prove your worth to someone who's already overlooking it, the smaller you begin to feel. Let this sink in. Begging to be appreciated is the quickest way to become undervalued. People don't cherish what is always available. They don't admire what is easily accessed. And unfortunately, human nature often needs the silence of absence to hear the value of presence. That's why silence and distance can be your greatest allies when you're not being seen. This is where the wisdom of Stoicism cuts through the noise. Seneca once said, "Time discovers truth when someone cannot see your worth while you're in front of them." Stepping away, quietly, gracefully, often reveals more than any words could. Let me share a story. There was a man I knew, we'll call him Jake. Jake was the kind of person everyone relied on. If a friend needed help moving, he was there. If someone forgot a birthday, Jake remembered. At work, he covered for colleagues, took on extra tasks, and made sure everything ran smoothly, not for praise, but because it was the right thing to do. But over time, Jake started to notice something. No one was showing up for him. If he didn't call, no one checked in. If he stopped initiating plans, the phone stayed silent. His presence had become so consistent that it was invisible. The very things that made him dependable had made him disposable in the eyes of others. So, Jake did something different. He stopped reaching out. No grand exit, no dramatic speeches, just quiet withdrawal. And that's when everything became clear. Some people never noticed, some faded away completely, but others, the real ones, began to reach out. They noticed his absence. They missed his presence. They asked if he was okay. And just like that, Jake had clarity. He didn't need to argue, beg, or prove his worth. His silence revealed the truth. This is what happens when you stop pouring energy into people who refuse to match it. You stop chasing, and you start observing. You stop explaining, and you start protecting your peace. So how do you handle being unappreciated without losing your self-worth? First, recognize the pattern. If you're always the one giving, initiating, or supporting, and receiving little in return, that's not connection. That's imbalance. You deserve relationships where your effort is mutual, not mandatory. Second, resist the urge to prove anything. Your worth does not shrink in the eyes of someone who cannot see it. It remains constant. Let them miss you. Let them sit with the silence that once was filled by your care and your presence. Third, walk away with grace, not resentment. Your silence isn't a punishment. It's a boundary. And boundaries teach others how to treat you without ever needing to raise your voice. There's immense strength in walking away without needing to be understood. Because not everyone will understand the value you bring, and they don't need to. The right people will recognize it effortlessly. Here's the thing. Appreciation is not something you should have to demand. Respect is not something you should have to explain. If someone doesn't value your time, your presence, or your effort, let them experience life without it. That's not cruelty. That's clarity. And here's another truth. Not everyone who ignores your value is malicious. Sometimes people are simply caught up in their own world, unaware of the gifts they're surrounded by. But even that doesn't make it your job to stay. Your role is not to convince them. It's to honor yourself enough to step back. You teach people how to treat you not through confrontation, but through consistency and distance. Let them see what life feels like without your presence. Let your absence be the reminder they need. And if they truly cared, they'll notice. If they didn't, their silence is your answer. At the end of the day, Your energy is sacred. Don't waste it trying to convince someone to value what you bring. You don't need to fight to be seen. You need to be around people who already see you, fully, clearly, and without conditions. Because sometimes, the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. Let your absence speak, let your silence teach, and let the people who truly appreciate you show themselves, not through words, but through action. 6. When they try to provoke you, stay calm and reclaim your power. There are people in this world who thrive on conflict, not because they seek resolution, but because they crave reaction. Their words are calculated, their tone is sharp, their comments are laced with bait, all designed to pull you into a moment where you lose control. To them, your anger is fuel, your frustration is validation, and the moment you respond with emotion, they win. That's their game, emotional control. They poke, they prod, they push your buttons, they study your reactions like a script, and if they can pull you out of character, they feel powerful, because now, they control your state of mind. But here's the truth. You are not obligated to attend every battle you're invited to. When someone tries to provoke you, the most powerful move is not a clever comeback. It's not a fiery defense. It's calm indifference. It's silence that says, I see what you're doing, and I'm not giving you what you want. Stoic philosophy teaches us this form of restraint. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." In other words, you may not be able to control what others say or do, but you always have control over your response. And that is where your freedom begins. Let me share a story. There was a man named Adam who worked in a high-pressure office. Among his co-workers was someone who constantly stirred up drama. Let's call him Chris. Chris had a habit of throwing subtle jabs, making snide remarks during meetings, and undermining others in front of the team. He especially targeted Adam, likely out of jealousy or insecurity. At first, Adam responded like most of us would. He defended himself. He explained. He tried to reason. But no matter what he said, it only encouraged Chris to continue. The more Adam engaged, the more Chris provoked. It was a never-ending loop of conflict and emotional drain. Until one day, Adam made a decision. The next time Chris threw a jab, Adam didn't respond. He simply looked at him, smiled politely, and continued on with his work. No emotion, no energy, no reaction. And something remarkable happened. Chris was thrown off. The power he once held over Adam's emotions disappeared. The bait was left untouched. The game was over. You see, provokers don't know what to do with silence. They thrive on emotional chaos. Take that away, and they lose control. Here's why silence and emotional detachment are so effective. 1. It breaks their pattern. People who provoke are used to pushing people into predictable responses. Anger, defensiveness, argument. When you don't respond at all, you confuse their strategy and rob them of satisfaction. 2. It reveals their intention. When you stay calm and they continue to escalate, others start to notice. Their behavior becomes more obvious when you're not part of the emotional tug of war. Your silence becomes their spotlight. 3. It protects your energy. Every reaction you give costs you peace. Is their drama worth your inner stillness? Probably not. By remaining centered, you stay in control of your mood, your decisions, and your day. But emotional control doesn't mean suppression. It means mastery. You're not bottling up anger. You're refusing to let someone else dictate when and how you feel it. There's a difference between reacting and responding. Reaction is impulsive. It's emotional. It's explosive. Response is measured. It's deliberate. It's calm. And sometimes, the most intelligent response is none at all. Now, this doesn't mean you never set boundaries. It doesn't mean you let people walk over you. But the boundary doesn't always need to be loud. Often, it's as simple as disengaging, as choosing not to lower yourself to their level. Let's make this practical. The next time someone tries to provoke you, pause. Before reacting, take a breath. Stillness is your strength. Observe. Ask yourself, what are they trying to achieve? If the answer is control, don't feed it. Respond with calm, or with silence. A peaceful exit from the conversation is more powerful than a defensive argument. Move on. Emotionally, physically, mentally. Remove yourself from their arena. You don't belong in battles built for their ego. Because here's the truth. You don't need to defend your peace. You only need to protect it. Imagine a flame trying to survive in a storm. The more you fan it, the more likely it is to go out. But if you shield it, gently, silently, it survives. That's your inner calm. That's your focus. That's your clarity. Don't let anyone blow it out with petty provocation. Real power is quiet. It's not the loudest voice in the room. It's the one who knows when to speak and when to stay silent. So, when someone tries to provoke you, don't give them what they crave. Give them your absence. Give them nothing. Because the moment you do, they lose the one thing they wanted most, control. And you walk away stronger, calmer, and untouched. 7. When they regret losing you, let silence be your last word. Sometimes people don't realize your worth until you're no longer around. They grow so used to your presence, your kindness, your loyalty, your effort, that they begin to believe it will always be there. They treat your consistency as a guarantee. They assume your love, attention, and energy are endless resources. And by the time they realize what they had, you're already gone. That moment, when they finally understand what they've lost, is powerful. But what's more powerful is how you respond to it. You may be tempted to turn around, to give them another chance, to finally hear the apology you waited so long for. You may feel the urge to tell them how much they hurt you, how long you stayed hoping they would change, how much you wished things could have been different. But here's the truth. Your silence speaks louder than any closure. When someone regrets losing you, they don't need your explanations. They need your absence. Because it's not your words that teach them the lesson. It's the emptiness left behind when your energy, your time, and your love are no longer available. Too many people don't value what's in front of them until it becomes a memory. They don't cherish loyalty until it's no longer offered. They don't respect presence until it becomes absence. And by then, it's too late. This is where your real strength is tested. Not in how loudly you leave, but in how silently you stay gone. Let me share a story. There was a woman named Olivia. She had been in a long-term relationship with someone who constantly took her for granted. She supported him emotionally, stood by him through difficult times, and sacrificed time and opportunities to keep the relationship alive. But he never met her halfway. He ignored her needs, dismissed her feelings, and always assumed she'd stay. For years, Olivia tolerated the imbalance, not because she was weak, but because she believed in the potential of what they could become. She gave chances, offered understanding, and tried again, and again, and again. Until one day, she stopped. There was no big argument, no dramatic farewell, just silence. Olivia quietly packed her things and walked away. No letters, no final texts, no explanation. At first, he thought it was temporary. He assumed she'd come back like she always did. But days turned into weeks. Weeks into months, and by the time he reached out, full of apologies, full of regret, Olivia had already moved on. Not just physically, but emotionally. She didn't need to tell him how much he hurt her. Her silence had already done that. This is the kind of strength most people don't talk about. The courage to walk away and not look back. The self-respect to protect your peace, even when your heart still cares. The wisdom to understand that someone who only sees your worth after losing you never truly valued it to begin with. So how do you handle someone who regrets losing you? First, resist the urge to explain. If they didn't understand your value while you were present, no amount of explanation will make them see it now. Let them sit with the silence. Let them feel the weight of your absence. Second, don't offer an easy way back. Regret is not love. Missing you is not the same as cherishing you. There's a difference between someone who genuinely sees your worth and someone who simply misses the comfort you provided. Don't confuse loneliness with realization. Third, protect your growth. You've come too far, healed too much, and learned too many lessons to go back to what broke you. Moving forward doesn't mean you're bitter, it means you've chosen yourself. You owe no one a return, especially those who didn't value you until your silence taught them what your presence never could. This is where Stoic wisdom offers clarity. Epictetus once said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." And that includes mastering the strength to walk away and not turn around. It means understanding that your peace, your power, and your purpose are not up for negotiation. Sometimes the most powerful declaration of self-worth is not in what you say, but in what you no longer tolerate. When they regret losing you, let karma handle the lesson. Let your distance be the consequence. Let your growth be the reminder of what they once had and failed to appreciate. Because your absence can do what your words never could, it reveals the truth. It reveals who truly saw you, and who only saw convenience. So if they come back, with apologies, with excuses, with the sudden realization of your worth, remember this: you're not responsible for their awakening. You're responsible for protecting your peace. You don't need to yell. You don't need to explain. You don't even need to respond. Your silence is enough. Because the most powerful thing you can say to someone who mistreated you is nothing. Walk away with grace. Stay gone with dignity. And let your silence echo where your words once lived. Throughout this journey, we've explored 7 of the most powerful moments in life when silence is not just an option, it's a declaration. A declaration of strength, of dignity, and of mastery over your own energy. When someone lies about you, you don't have to chase the truth with desperate words. Let your silence be the space where truth unfolds on its own. When someone betrays your trust, you don't have to beg them to understand what they've done. Let your silence be the closure they never expected. When someone insults you, you don't need to defend your worth with anger. Let your stillness be the mirror that reflects their own insecurity. When someone plays the victim and tries to flip the narrative against you, don't jump into the chaos. Let your silence be the force that reveals the patterns they hoped would stay hidden. When others don't appreciate you, when they take your presence for granted and treat your loyalty like a given, don't overextend yourself to prove anything. Let your absence be the revelation they didn't know they needed. When they try to provoke you, when they poke at your peace in hopes of watching you explode, don't feed the fire. Let your calm indifference be the power they cannot touch. And finally, when they regret losing you, when they come crawling back with apologies long overdue, remember, you don't owe them an audience. Let your silence remind them that your value was never up for negotiation, it just wasn't seen in time. These aren't just responses, these are principles. This is what it means to live with self-respect, to walk with intention, to not let the chaos of others dictate your state of mind. You see, we often believe that the loudest person is the strongest, that those who speak back, clap back, or fight back are the ones who are powerful. But Stoicism teaches us something different, something deeper. Real power is quiet, real strength is calm, real mastery is silent. Because when you stay silent in the face of provocation, betrayal, lies, manipulation, or regret, you are telling the world, I know who I am. I don't need to prove it to anyone. And there's something incredibly freeing about that. You're no longer trapped in cycles of drama. No longer tied to the exhausting need to be understood by those who never listened in the first place. You rise, not with noise, but with grace. You rise by removing your energy from places it's not respected. That is what Stoicism is about. Not indifference to life, but mastery over the self. Mastery over your mind, your reactions, your peace. You begin to realize that not every situation deserves your words. Not every person deserves your explanation. Not every attack deserves your retaliation. Some things, some people, some moments, only deserve your silence. And in that silence, something beautiful happens. You reclaim your peace. You reclaim your dignity. You make space for better, for real connection, for growth, for truth. Think about how much energy you've spent trying to convince the wrong people of your value. Think about the stress, the anxiety, The sleepless nights spent defending yourself to people who never really wanted to understand you in the first place. Now imagine turning all that energy inward, toward building yourself, toward protecting your inner world, toward becoming someone who no longer reacts to everything, but who chooses responses with purpose. That's what this journey has been about. Not just letting karma handle it, but letting you handle it with wisdom. So the next time life pushes you toward reaction, pause. The next time someone lies, manipulates, provokes, or regrets, breathe. And remember what you've learned here. Remember that your silence is not emptiness, it is presence. It is intention. It is power. Let them talk. Let them spin stories. Let them fall into the trap of their own behavior. Because you're beyond that now. You don't rise to the level of their drama. You rise to the level of your discipline. And as you walk away, with your head held high, your peace unshaken, and your silence louder than any scream, they'll realize exactly what they lost. But by then, you won't even be watching. If this video reminded you of your worth, share it with someone still fighting battles they should have walked away from. Like this video so more people can discover the power of silence, and subscribe. Because next week we'll explore how Stoics turn pain into unstoppable momentum. And before you go, watch this next video here. It's the perfect follow-up to help you protect your peace.